Hey, so today I'll be teaching you how to create the game Pong in about 5 minutes or less. So let's get started. So I'm assuming you already have Unity installed and everything. So when you get here, you want to create a new project and you want to call it whatever you want. Make sure the template's at 2D because Pong's 2D in this case. Then just click create project. Okay, so once you have your Unity open, you'll see something like this. Just this area, not this or this at the bottom over here. So what you want to do is you want to take your Pong assets, just as a folder, extract it, open this up, and just drag and drop it over here. Right click here, just create a new folder called assets as I have over here. Then just drag all the assets you have and just put them into this assets folder. It's more for organizational purposes over here. And so the next thing you want to do now is just create an empty, and you want to call it background. So what you want to do with the background is you want to add a component called sprite renderer right here. You see like this. So what you want to do after that is you want to take, having background selected in the hierarchy, you want to get the background over here, as you find this area here, drag it and put it into this area, or the sprite area. And then after that, what you want to do is you want to go to layer, you want to add a layer, go to sorting layers, and you're not going to have this, you're going to have it like this. What you want to do is you want to add a new layer, call it background. Now what this does is it ensures that this will actually be a background and nothing else will mess around with it or go ahead of it or behind it. So what you want to do after you create this is you want to take this background, put it above the default, and go back to background. And after you're done this, what you want to do is go to sorting layer over here, the sprite renderer. Then you want to select it and you want to make it the background. Okay, so after you've done that, you want to go to the background. You also want to make the transformations and everything exactly the same as I have it, and the main camera just have everything as I have it here with the size and everything. Also, you want to go to game and you put it to a 3:2 ratio. Okay, and after you've done that, next we're going to be adding the paddles. So right click, create another empty, and call that paddle 1 like I have over here. And now what you want to do is just copy everything I have in this area, right? When it comes to sprite renderer, what you want to do is you want to drag the Pong paddle image over here, and you just want to drag it and put it into the sprite renderer over here. Everything else you can just copy yourself, not too hard. And the next thing you want to do is you want to copy that exact paddle, right? Copy and paste it. And what you want to do is you want to call this one paddle 2, the copy and pasted paddle that you have. And the only difference between paddle 1 and paddle 2 is that the position over here, instead of being a negative, it's on the positive side. So as you can see, one's on this side and one's on the other side. That's the only difference. Next we'll be adding the ball. So create another empty and call this ball. And what you want to do with this is add another sprite renderer, and then with that just drag the ball image over here, put it into the sprite renderer, and everything else you can just copy yourself and add the components and everything, as you can see with mine. Okay, so I kind of forgot to mention something. Over here in the circle collider for the ball, you should make it 0.23. Now what this does is the circle collider is now very tightly wrapped around the ball, so that if it ever interacts with anything, it's always very accurate considerably than considering if it was at 1. So yeah, got that out of the way. So now moving on to the next section, what you want to do is create another empty, call this walls. Now the walls will obviously be so that the ball can actually bounce around the arena and not actually just float away into the abyss. So next thing you want to do is right click on walls, create an empty. Now what this will do is make a child of a game object that's a child of walls. So what you want to do now is call that wall right wall, and just copy everything I have over here with the box cutter and everything. Make sure you have is trigger on. That is what will keep the score for the right and left wall. Don't add is trigger for the top or bottom, please. Okay, so when you're done that, just copy and paste right wall and just rename it left wall and just change the coordinates to what I have over here. Just copy everything here. Same with top wall, control C, control V left wall, and just copy this. Don't have this trigger on like I did. That was a mistake. So copy and paste, just copy this, do that again. Don't have this trigger on again, and just copy this. So now that you have all this done, those are the walls. Then right click on outside of walls, not onto walls again, and just click create empty, and you want to name this thing HUD. We'll be adding scripts and everything in this next portion. So this is just the basis of the GUI and everything. Alright, so onto the scripting portion of the video. So what you want to do is you want to click on paddle 1, and you want to add a component, and you want to add a new script. And what you want to call this script is player controls. So you have it displayed like this. So after that is done, what you want to do is you want to right click on it, and you want to copy the component, go to paddle 2, right click on, let's say, box collider to any of these components on this half exactly, right click, and then just paste component as new, and you have player controls on this one as well. Next we go on ball, add a component script, and call that script ball control. then go to walls, right? Click on right wall, add component, and call this sidewalls to the same thing as we did for paddle 1 and paddle 2. Just copy this component, go to left wall, right click on box cut at the top area, and then click paste component as new. It'll show up as there as well. Top wall and bottom wall don't really need any scripts, so moving on to the HUD, we'll add a component and we'll call this one game manager. Next thing you want to do is just right click, create a folder called scripts, another for organizational purposes, and just select all of them and just drag them into the scripts folder. Okay, now let's open up Visual Studio. To open that up, let's just double click on one of the scripts, and then boom, it'll just open it up like that. So I'll get back to you on this in a bit. Okay, so this is the actual coding portion now. So what I have here is pretty much just my completed scripts, so you guys could just copy it as I go by, but I'll explain everything so you actually understand what's going on. So moving on and starting with player controls, this is what you'll be using to actually control the paddles and stuff. So to begin, you want to put this line of code right here. What this does is it assigns the move up and move down variables, the W and S keys, right? And then the next thing we have is the speed. This is how fast the paddles will be going. We made it public so that you can edit them inside the inspector, and I'll show you that when we get there. And over here, this is the bound Y, which is pretty much the highest position that the paddle can go, or the lowest position, I guess you could say, right? So this is the limit, so your paddle doesn't go whoosh off of the page or something. Okay, this is also public in case you want to edit it up for some reason. The next one we have here is the X coordinate of the paddle. This is I'll explain why we have this here in the next one. This is mainly just for when you reset the paddle, so you actually want it to be centered each time. Right here we have a private. This is for the rigid body 2D. This is pretty much the component that we added, right? So this is so the things can actually collide with it. So moving on to the first method that we have here. As you can see from the comment, this resets the position of the paddles. So what we want to do here is you get the variable position, we assign it to the transformation coordinates and such. So then what we want to do is every time we want to reset the paddle, what we want to do is keep the Y value at 0, and then we want to get the position, the X position equivalent to the X position over here. The reason why this is public is that paddle 1 and paddle 2 is one's negative, one's positive, right? And then if you want to move the paddles closer and forward, you could do that if you want to, and just reset the position any X coordinate you want. And then we have this last line of code here, transformation.position equals position, so that it can actually hold the position is a thing. The next we have here is a start. Start is pretty much called every first frame. It's the thing that you want to get done in the beginning, right? This is what we do here, just get the component for the rigid body. Next is update. This is called every frame, and what you want to get every single frame is your input, right? So every time you might have up or down different inputs and stuff. So we want to make a variable called velocity, which is equivalent to the rigid body's velocity. All right. Then we make an if loop that gets the input if we're going up, if we're doing W or S, and depending if we do W, it goes speed positive. The velocity in the Y direction goes up, right? Positive, and if it's negative, well, if you click S, right? Else, if S is clicked, the velocity in the Y direction will be negative, so going downwards. And if we don't click anything, the velocity will be 0, so the paddle is actually stationary. And then we, do the similar thing. We do the rigid body's velocity is equivalent to velocity. Next, we want to make a variable position called transform.position, right? And what this is over here, this if loop, is so that you don't go out of bounds. So what this does is, if the position in the Y direction is greater than the bound Y, like the maximum that you need to go to, just make the position in the Y direction equivalent to the maximum. And if it's less than, negative bound Y, whatever, make it. So pretty much what this does is, if you reach the limit, just stay there. You can't go past it. That's what this does. So moving on to the ball control portion. This is pretty much the script that controls the ball movement. Alright, so to start off, we make a private variable for the rigid body, then we make another private variable for the ball speed, and then the first method pretty much chooses a random direction that the ball can go. So pretty much we generate a random number between 0 and 2, so that can choose if the ball goes left or right. And then we make another variable called random ball direction. This is pretty much the angle at which the ball goes. Either it will be facing downwards, center, whatever. This is pretty much angle that it'll be shooting at. So what it does is, if the randomly generated number is less than 1, it'll go to the left. If it's not less than 1, it'll go to the right. So it's just as random, so the player can't be predicting if the ball is going to be shooting their side first or the other side first. The next variable, next method I mean, is pretty much something that resets the speed of the ball, and it pretty much just chooses a position for the ball to spawn in the line. And to give you a quick look through of that, is right here. This line right here, the ball will spawn anywhere along this line over here. That's what that script does. So that's what that does. And then over here, this is just restart game, which pretty much this does is every time you call this, it resets the ball. It calls the reset ball one right here, and then it invokes goal ball, which pretty much just when you restart the game, it resets the position and boom, bing bang boom, you're going. The next one just is on collision enter, and you could just copy this and you could use kind of mathy and stuff. You just look at it. Next one over here, we got start. This pretty much just gets the component, and this also invokes the goal ball. This is just when you start the game, you want to actually have the ball moving and stuff. So yeah, that's the ball script. Now onto the game manager script. This is pretty much what we'll be creating our HUD, and you can see the score and everything in it. I'd say you just look at it and copy it and see most of the comments and stuff. There isn't much to explain here, right? I'll just go through it slowly. It's a lot of repetition and stuff, I get that. So I'm pretty sure you could read it and figure out for yourself. But over here, when you restart the game, it just restart. It tells ball 1 and ball 2 to reset. This is just for another game mode, actually. Ignore that section. But over here is for if the player scores equals 10 or the player score equals 10 for player 2, then it prints out this one wins, and it prints out this one wins. So for all this code, the first thing I want to tell you is do not copy anything with ball 2 in it. That's just for another game mode I had going on, so don't copy that, but everything else is viable. Alright, so that's it for this one. Now this is for the wall script over here, side walls. So what this does is it has a collider 2D, right? So every time if a ball, don't copy this section, ball 2, just get this side here, that's all. So what this does is it pretty much, if the thing that hits it has the name ball, so in this case if the ball hits it, we want to get the string wall name. We're gonna get the name of the wall that it hit, right? And then how with the score function that we made, depending on what the name of the wall was, it would give a point to player 1 or player 2 depending on that. That's what this component does over here, this function. And what it does over here is every time it hits the thing, it sends the restart game and restart paddle. So pretty much what this does is it just resets the positions of the paddles and the ball every single time point is scored. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's it. Thank you.